Hail and welcome to the Black Tower. I'm your host, your guide, your brother, the Sorcerer Amanesul. Alright, so, long time no video making. So, tonight, let's talk Pazuzu. Friend and brother of mine, William Hill, from the Black Tower, and from his own channel, of course, William Hill, Dark Hill 32. He and I apparently had a moment of synchronicity bigger than hell. About a few days ago, where I'd gotten on there and I was like, I'm going to be doing a video on Pazuzu. And he was like, wow, I just, finished recording 3 videos. And I was like, wow, holy crap. And I was like, god damn, that's synchronicity. But I was watching his videos and I was going over it, and I like the way how he approaches it. Like, this is what this source says, this is what that source says. There's nothing wrong with that. You need that basis of understanding. And so I'm not necessarily trying to build upon his, but I'm going to be coming at this from my own sorcerer point of view. And hopefully, just hopefully, I can give some advice or some help to anyone out there actually trying to work with any of the abominations. Alright, so let us take a few things into account before we continue. The Aura Star, the 5-point star. Can't miss it. It is the sign of the covenant. And it is portrayed. That is so sorts of messed up. It is portrayed by a tool that we use called the Abomination. It's the finished bowl. You can't see it because of the lighting here, but I have the script of the Watcher on there. The Watcher script for the bowl. And of course the Aura, the Aga, and the Bandar on the other side of it. The thing about it is that, like, for example, I have a pinnacle ring. Whenever I'm working with the elder gods, now this is just the way I do these things, okay? So feel free to change it or do however you want to with it. But whenever I'm working with the elder gods, I have the ring where the point is up, so that when I do like this, the star will be point up. And because it is a symbol of the covenant, the promise that you made, not only to powers, to deities and things, but to yourself. And it's about order, and about putting your universe into order. And so for my ring, when the point's up and I'm working with the Agamasaratu, I make sure that it's point up so that the energies are right, and so that in my head I'm tapping into the right force or the right source that I'm trying to, manipulate or work with. I like to use the word manipulate because basically whenever you're tapping into energies or creating energies, you are manipulating something from the state or form in which it naturally is in, and creating it in the form or frequency, vibration that you wish to tap into. With that being said and done, why did I talk about the Agamasaratu in that? Because when working with the elder gods, you want to do this, okay? One of the things is, and it's the reason why I showed the Agamasaratu, is you're also going to need the Shattered Bowl of the Sages or the Bowl of Tiamat. When you are working with the abominations, any of the abominations, and it is possible to work with them, to call them, give offering, and all this other stuff, and it be on a completely holistic manner, so that they're not. They can be destructive, they can be harmful, they can be a lot of things. But the thing is this is how we're going to work with them. This is how I work with them. I will take my ring and I will turn it horns up. The reason why is because it's symbolic of force. Because when you're talking about dealing with something that is chaotic, you must reign over it. It reminds me of the Enochian Olsana Farasaji, which means I reign over you, is the wording in English of what that actually translates into. And at any rate, the reason why they do things like this in high magic and in ritual magic and stuff like this is because the sorcerer, or the practitioner, whatever you want to call yourself, you must be the master of yourself first. Before you can be the master of anything or rule over anything, you must be able to rule over yourself most perfectly. And to begin this transition, this working, I used my ring as a way of doing this, of switching the lights on and off, so to speak, of switching currents. Because though the universe is dual in nature, the idea or the concept of a middle path or a gray area here is the fact that you can switch between either whenever you have to, need to, want to. And the way that I do that is with my ring, okay? Getting past the whole ring thing, I was using this as an example only. So I'd have the horns up, and then, now the Dur of Ender, or the Shattered Bowl, the Bowl of Sages, the Bowl of Tiamat. There is some speculation, and there are a few thoughts about, is the Agamasratu actually cracked or shattered to do this? I personally do not feel nor believe that. The reason why is because the Agamasratu is constantly used to feed your watcher and to give offering to the elder gods and so forth and so on, and because it is used to create holy water and unctions and stuff like that, and so forth and so on in your practice. Therefore, you're going to need another bowl. For me, I'm going to show my Duravender. Now, I don't normally show my tools like this because they're personal, they're sacred, and I think that subconsciously there's a part of me that's worried about what others would think about what I'm using, whereas in real life I really could give a fuck less. But I'll show you mine. So I took a solid white bowl stone, and I tried to just crack it. Yeah, no, a whole end came out, which that's fine because what you want is the inside to be where you can place an offering or a charcoal disc. Now on the other side, I made a seal for Tiamat dead center, and you'll notice that on the top there are two designs. That is a 5-point star that is cut in half. That is how I break through to the gate of Ganzir. Okay, Ganzir is underworld, Ganzir is otherworld. It really doesn't matter, but that's how you break through. And because this bowl was dedicated to Tiamat, of course, I created a sigil for Tiamat. And then at the bottom are 3 power symbols that I personally use in my own workings. And they're the 3 veils, is what I call them. They're part of my key, which I've gone into with other videos. Now, why did I bring all this up? Because we are going to be using the Shattered Bowl for offerings, for working with the abominations. The reason why is because, like, no different than anything else, you want to give your offerings and so forth and so on to any spirit that you're working with. Whether it's incense, energy, blood, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But for tonight, we're going to be talking about Pazuzu. Okay. Now, personally, my own gnosis and my own working and my own studying and practicing and working with this particular being is that the Lord of Plagues, the grinning angel, it's really weird. The very first time I met this being was like 19 years ago. And he always had what I call a perpetual grin on his face. And I understood in the Necronomicon where they called him the grinning angel. That could be because some of the meat's missing, so, it's got the Scully grin. But the connection of Pazuzu is with the stomach. So, like the stomach chakra, the Sacral Chakra, I think they call it, the one that's around your belly button. This is the chakra that is used to connect with the abominations. Hence why they're Mermartu, and all the different realms of the underworld, of the different oceans, is because the primal ocean is connected to the Sacral Chakra. Okay, so this is very important that we have these connections put together in line so that we understand how to connect with it energetically. So chakra-wise, it's going to be your Sacral Chakra. You're going to want to use the inverted star, the horns up. You're going to want to use your Duravender. Now, what is the offering for Pazuzu? Well, very funny. He's a lord of decay, god of the waste. Pazuzu is a very interesting deity to work with. Rotting meat is like a go-to thing for Pazuzu. Like right at this moment, I am in the process of making a statue. Now, in the old days, they used to make little figurines and amulets and things like this, and they would even bury them outside their doorstep to keep evil away and everything else, which if you've been watching William Hill's videos, he pretty much explains to you what they used to do. So, you can go to his video, check it out. And, I'm not going to sit here and repeat what he said because he's dead on with that. But the thing is you got to be very careful when working with the abominations, any of them. Because if you connect with them too closely, energetically, without severing the tie, and letting them go back to the realm and all this, that, and the other. For example, here's what happens when I hold on to Pazuzu too long. It's really funny how Pazuzu and Muahmuah are connected. Muahmuah has a stench of guts and stuff like that because his face is the guts and stuff. I'm trying to remember what they're called, the intestines, and and it's a kind of a nod towards the druidic way of foretelling fortunes and events and things through sheep innards and things. But the weird thing is that Muahmuah and Pazuzu are connected. They're just one and the same. Where one goes, the other one is. They're connected. The reason why I brought up Muahmuah at all in this one is the fact that when I connect too hard with Pazuzu, a very ancient plague was dysentery, which is diarrhea. And when I connect too much with Pazuzu, this is what happens on an energy level wise. Because you remember what I was telling you about the stomach chakra, so you can see where this goes. Now it can become many things, in different ways and stuff. But that's that's basically what happens on a physical level if you attune too hard, too well with it. At any rate, so let's get on with this just a little bit more. So the idea is to connect, but allow it to go and so forth and so on. Now, what I do is I make a seal. I take the seal from the book and I put a drop of blood on it, and I'm calling him. Now then, you remember I showed you this. You put it in the center of where the offering would be, and the blood goes on top of it. And then you would set like a small square piece of rotting meat on top of it. Now behind it would be either a picture, if you don't make clay figurines or bronze figurines or whatever, you don't own a statue of Pazuzu. You just take a pictorial drawing offline, whatever that you've ran off and put it there, and just give the offering. Now you want to leave it there at least 12 to 15 hours. And the reason why is because sometimes meat doesn't right away stench, but the stench as it feels, it is like incense to this particular deity, which you might not want to smell that in your house. So like if you have a room where you can do this, or a closet's even better because the dark and the energy and stuff, because you can always Febreze or aerosol a closet or whatever, wherever you set this up, but let it be in a secret place. Now, if you're going to use a statue, like with the way it was explained to me when my gnosis of channeling and working with Pazuzu, is the fact that I want to keep it covered with a black cloth. And the way it was explained to me is that it will keep the things that could happen, that could be drawn away, but it actually keeps his power in place to keep away the smaller things. And also, once a month during the dark of the moon, you want to get a bowl of milk, and you want to literally wash the statue with milk. There's a long line of why milk was a sacred thing. It was an offering of like milk and honey and stuff like that. Well, you wash the statue off with milk. It's called an ablution or something like that. I can't remember the exact name for the actual process of cleansing a sacred statue. But over time, this statue becomes charged and infused with the spirit or the essence of Pazuzu. And the milk in the offering it's kind of like sprinkling holy water on a room. You know how you can cleanse it? Well, the milk acts like a cleansing. It makes it a suitable temple for the spirit to abide in, okay? And this is how they used to infuse or imbue statues with actual spirits or entities, was through milk and ritual. And the ritual here is pretty simple. It's not really hard. You know, just like I said, the dark of the moon, 3 nights, just like there are 3 nights of the full moon, 3 nights of the dark of the moon. Each night, create a prayer, something special and singular to you and Pazuzu. And just wash it off with milk, okay? You don't have to like rub it or scrub it or nothing, but you know, drizzle milk over it, you know, even if you have to put a pot underneath it and just pour the milk slowly over the statue. It really doesn't matter as long as you do this. Now then you can take clear spring water, bottled water, whatever you got, and rinse the statue off so that the residue of the milk doesn't stick to it. Because the actual process and the actual ritual of you doing this infuses it with power. And that's perfect. That's exactly what you're wanting to do. Now, one other thing that I really wanted to go over is the importance of you remember I was talking about how you have to, when I was discussing about the Enochian aspect of, reigning over things, and where all this came from. Well, your handy dandy Simon Necronomicon gives it all. On page 184 is the invocation of the powers. You're going to need this, page 184 to 185. You're going to want to say this with power, with authority, with sureness in your voice, sureness of mind. And what's going to happen is you are slowly building up power within yourself, authority, to not necessarily to rule and command and tell him what he is or isn't going to do, but to be able to successfully summon this entity. Now, don't be surprised you do this the first time and it doesn't exactly work. And then again, hey, man, you might be like gangbangers, be able to knock this out of left field, and that's awesome if you can. That's great. But page 184 to 185, you want to do that invocation of power. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to make you prepared, like I said, to be able to actually work with them. Now then, you take the seal of Pazuzu on page, give me 1 minute here while I look for it, on page 189 of the Simon Necronomicon. Draw the sigil on a piece of paper after you've done the invocation. And then you're going to want to turn to page 195, 196, and 197. It's a very long thing. Okay? And this is the conjuration of the dead god. Now, what that means is that the abominations are called using this conjuration. Any of them. Any of them, from Zaster to Lamashtu to Lalasu to Muahmuah to Pazuzu to whoever. This is the actual conjuration. So, draw your seal, do the conjuration on page 195, 196, 197. Begin your workings. Do whatever you're going to do. Communicate with the spirit, its entity. Talk to it. Try to come from a place not of fear, but of openness and willingness to accept it for who and what it is. Be respectful and aware of what it is capable of doing, but don't let that stop you. You need to come from a place of love. You just do. You've got to see, in the occult and the magic and to any of this stuff, you've got to really you've got to love it just for the sake of what it is. It's just a spirit, a being. It's just a power. It's just awesome. Okay? You don't always have to be a hate-filled motherfucker, and you don't always have to be a sunshine, unicorn-loving tree hugger to do these things. Which that sounds bad. I don't mean anything by that, but I'm just saying, you don't have to be either one. You don't have to be dualized, individually dualized or any of that other stuff. Just come from a midpoint of just love and authority, power. And when you're calling these things and you're working with them, they will show you the respect that you show them. Well, that's about it for right now, but I wish each and every single one of you success, peace, blessings, and power. Till next time.